The following podcast is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Alone in the Realm, a premium solo TTRPG podcast. I'm DV, your humble GM and adventurer. Alone in the Realm is a podcast where we let the dice drive the story, and we are along for the ride. No characters beyond death, and we let the dice lay where they fall. We'll be playing Mothership by Tuesday Night Games, and the Mega Dungeon module, Gradient Descent, by Luke Gearing. Gradient Descent, Episode 15. In the last episode, the crew re-entered the deep and proceeded to Floor 2 to try to find the Minotaur. They found an artifact in a hidden stash, and it appeared to be related to the nanotech they had been searching for, only for androids, not humans. Regardless, Denzel was ready to leave, but Ada and Therese were determined to find the Minotaur. They entered the sewers where they found a dead body, a disgruntled android, and were all brain scanned by Monarch. The chaos factor is currently 7. The expected scene is they will find their way to the labyrinth. We're going to test the scene with a D10. We get a 10 versus a 7. Expected scene. The android youth sat on his heels, holding the statuette in his hands, wonderingly. He turned it over in his hands and gasped.
This is art created by our Lord Monarch. Oh, wow! How did it come to be here?
He looked down in consternation at the dead android. Maybe Monarch, Ollie began. But Denzel silenced him with an elbow to the ribs. He had a feeling Ollie was going to pin the death on Monarch, and he did not believe the youth would take that news kindly. Perhaps there's someone or something else down here that's dangerous. If we had our weapons, we could travel together. Strength in numbers, Denzel called out. The android finally looked up at them, huddled against the wall. He considered for a moment, then nodded as if he had been speaking with himself silently.
Very well. Grab your things, but walk in front of me. I'll take you to the elder in the gutter.
The crew all looked at each other for a moment, then retrieved their things. The android motioned for them to climb through the opposite duct, and they followed his direction. The noise of the heavy machinery began to make it to their ears as they neared the next room. By the time they had exited the ducts, the noise was prevalent over normal speech. Now I'm going to roll D100 for an encounter. I got an 80, which is none. I'll also roll in Mythic for a domicile description. I got small and protection. The pipes all passed into several large machines that filled a huge space. Open gears rumbled in well-oiled casings, powering the machines that did something to the sewage. There was a narrow walkway that passed through the machinery. If one were to reach out only slightly, they might be grabbed by the moving parts. They all walked carefully in single file through the large room. Denzel mused to himself how many safety codes this place must be in violation of. Due to the size of this room, we're now going to roll 3 encounter rolls. And since everybody's moving at a slow pace, I think that's pretty fair that we would perhaps get 3 possible encounters while we're in here. So we're going to roll first. 86, that's no encounter. 74, that's no encounter. And 81, no encounter. The walkway eventually turned into a human-sized tunnel that then opened into a small chamber that ended in a bulkhead door. Lining every wall were crude drawings of piles of androids being torn to pieces by unseen assailants. Above the piles, the androids were being led into a steel cave by a benevolent steel hand. I'm going to give everyone +1 stress. Denzel has 5 stress now. Ada has 3 stress. Ollie has 6 stress. And Therese has 5 stress. We'll also roll for another encounter. 21. None. No one had spoken for quite some time, but now that they were beyond the noise of the machinery, the silence was eerie. Combined with the grim mural, tension crept in the shadows. Denzel's head was on a swivel, constantly hearing dim noises and pointing his flashlight in that direction. The android following them scoffed.
Delightful, right? The so-called chosen shall get their due recompense for banishing us down here.
Denzel looked over to Ada, who shared his concerned look. Multiple tunnels opened from this room, all leading to unknown darkness. But they walked resolutely toward the bulkhead door in front of them. C-5414 spoke again from behind them.
Once we pass through this bulkhead door, there will be no return back this way. I and C-794 were scouts. We went through the labyrinth to find an escape for our people, but instead, we were separated and he was, well, you saw. I found myself not as far from home as I had hoped. Tell me truthfully, what is beyond the ducts you emerged from?
Denzel ran a hand through his hair. He did not want to get involved with these zealot androids, but it appeared they had no choice. First, what do you mean there's no return? The door can't be opened from the other side? The youth peered at him, and Denzel noted something in his gaze. If it had been a person, he would have said it was malice.
Correct. Once we pass through, the door will close and cannot be opened from the gutter.
Denzel cleared his throat. Why don't you just block it open? A grin came over the youth's face.
Of course! Why did we not think of that? I'm so glad you humans have come to shed your wisdom upon us.
Sarcasm dripped heavily with every word.
I'll let you hold it open for us after passing through, since it was your great idea.
Denzel scoffed, then looked at the bulkhead door. Unlike the others they had encountered, this one did not have a wheel lock. Instead, it had a dusty terminal inset into the door. There was no keypad on the controls, only a simple LED screen with a closed indicator. A large, nondescript gray button was under the screen. It all looked like it had not been used in quite some time. Denzel was about to press the button when the android spoke up again.
When you hit the button, do not delay. We must all hurry through the door. It will not cycle again for 12 hours after opening. That is how C-794 and I got separated. It took me a long time to get back through the labyrinth and find him.
You know how to navigate the labyrinth? Is that where the Minotaur is located? Ada chimed in. The youth turned his narrow-eyed gaze to her.
You have not answered my question yet. What is on the other side of those ducts you emerged from?
Ada looked at Denzel before answering. He nodded his assent. Past those ducts, you will find you are on the second floor of the Cloudbank Synthetics production facility, known to many as the Deep. It is an android manufacturing station, run by the AI Monarch. The youth wrinkled his face in confusion.
What about Eden? We've all been told outside these gutters is a paradise.
Ada stepped toward him, not quite capable of empathy, but she was accustomed to trying to mimic it for her human companions. I believe this Eden exists on the second floor, though we were unable to gain access. He relaxed a little, then said,
Of course. You are not believers in Lord Monarch's grand power and love for us. Of course you would be denied Eden. Of course.
A sad smile crept over his face.
You are forgotten, like us.
He seemed to be speaking directly to Ada. Ada stepped forward unexpectedly and embraced the young android. Surprisingly, he returned the hug with much vigor. After a moment, she stepped away from the embrace. I would like to speak to your elder on these matters. In a flash, the demeanor of the youth had completely changed. He lowered his weapon and smiled at the group.
Be careful, as I told you,
he said, and he stepped forward and pressed the button. The bulkhead door groaned for a moment, and then slid upward laboriously. After it had opened enough for him to duck under, he did so, and motioned for them to follow.
Hurry!
He admonished. Denzel guided the reluctant Ollie to pass through, then Ada, then Therese. By the time he passed under the door, it was almost to the apex of the opening. The youth hissed and grabbed his arm, pulling him the rest of the way forward. Just as the door reached the top, it slammed back downward with a crash. Denzel jumped away.
You didn't try to hold it open,
the youth android laughed. Denzel looked at him sideways, then barked a laugh of his own. Okay, now we're going to roll the Mythic city descriptors. I got calm and protected. They were up on a catwalk in a massive chamber. Below them, in a 20-meter deep pit, was a shantytown of androids. Small structures made from salvaged metal and cabling were erected in neat rows, with walkways cleared in between. The whole chamber was dimly lit with LED lights. You could see androids walking below, deep in discussion with one another. Several others milled in a crowd before a slightly larger structure. Just from what Denzel could see, there were around 100 androids in sight down there, perhaps more. All were in poor condition.
Welcome to the gutter,
the youth said with a flourish. He motioned for them to follow as he navigated a maintenance ladder into the pit.
I will take you to the elder.
End of scene. While I did not actually find the labyrinth, yet, as per the expected scene, I think the engagement with the elder probably deserved its own scene. The chaos factor is -1, down to 6 now. Things seem to be pretty calm at the moment. I'm going to test the scene again with a D10. I got a 10 versus a 6. The expected scene. The expected scene in this case will be the crew will speak with the elder about the chosen, the forgotten, and the labyrinth. Now I'm going to roll, just to see how this expected scene will go, I'm going to roll a mythic plot twist. I got immediate and death. Dang, that's dark. I think I might know how to twist it and weave it into the narrative. The youth excitedly led them through the crowd of staring androids toward the large structure. Some of the androids even hesitantly reached out and touched them as they walked past. A look of awe was upon many of their faces, like they had never seen a human before. My roll on Mythic Domicile for the main building. I got full and utilitarian. As they entered the large structure, the main room in the entry was full of more androids. They were in various states of ill repair, and many of them were being worked on by their fellows.
Wait here, I will go ask if the elder can see you,
the youth said, and disappeared into the crowd of androids. Several of the occupants noticed the crew and were ogling them openly. Denzel's skin crawled from the stairs, but their guide soon returned with a smile.
He will see you now.
Denzel nodded appreciatively and moved toward an open door in the back of the room. Mythic fate check. Does the youth give him the statuette? I got a 6 versus a 65. That's an extreme yes. He felt someone tug at his sleeve. The youth stood there, looking sort of embarrassed. I apologize for my attitude earlier.
Please, take Lord Monarch's offering. It was probably meant for you to find, rather than me.
And he proffered the small statue to Denzel. Denzel turned it over in his hands. It was incredibly detailed. Stamped on the bottom of the art piece was a large, blocky M. Well, thank you. I'm sure this will be a valuable collector's piece. The youth beamed under the praise and nodded as he backed away. Denzel and the others entered the room of the elder, who motioned for them to close the door. The room was cramped with the 4 crew members, the elder's desk and chair, and a small table of strange items behind him. I'm gonna roll for the character's disposition. I got paranoid. I'm also going to roll for his first look. He is slight and morose. The elder did not look old in the human sense, but he had an air of extreme exhaustion about him, as if life had taken its toll on his will to continue. Compared to many of the other androids, he seemed to be in a relatively good physical condition. A large 7 was imprinted on his forehead.
I wish I could offer you a place to sit, but alas, you will have to stand.
He leaned back in his chair and it squeaked precariously. He did not seem to notice.
It has been some time since we had divers here in the gutter. C-5414 says you mentioned finding the Minotaur.
He looked around them to see if the door was closed, and he held up a palm to pause them in their response. He reached over to the gadgets on the table and pressed a button on a small silver spire. It emitted an electronic squelching sound like a bad radio channel, followed by static that then dissipated. Ada rubbed at her ears. It felt as though there were an insect crawling inside.
My apologies,
he said, and he stood to shake their hands.
I was called Shadow before coming to the grotto, all those years ago. Unlike the other androids here, I was manufactured at Cloudbank before the rise of Monarch. I was one of the maintenance androids for the factory. This is not known to the androids outside, and I had to turn on a small jamming device so that no one would overhear.
Why? Denzel was very confused by this android's behavior. Why tell them all of this? Shadow sighed and sat down.
A story too long to tell, but I will give you a brief edition. Have you been in Eden?
Denzel shook his head.
Ah, well, it might make more sense if you had. Regardless, Monarch is running an experiment for some unknown purpose here on Floor 2. Inside Eden are her chosen. They are living a plush life there. Outside of Eden are the fallen, or forgotten, living in squalor. Every iteration of the experiment might last years, months, or even just days. She waits until the dam breaks, and either the chosen or the fallen attack one another. All of the androids are then wiped of their memory, and then cast in their roles of fallen or chosen once again. Except for me, of course. I do not think Monarch is truly aware of me, or perhaps she just does not care. It is my goal to make my way through the labyrinth and find the Minotaur, but for whatever reason, he is elusive to me. The fallen are all programmed to believe he is evil, so they are little help. I think Monarch is afraid of the Minotaur, or what he represents. Somehow, I have been regarded as wise among the generations of the fallen. So, I am stuck here, every new generation, trying to bring these androids out of darkness and escape their perpetual prison.
Why do you not just leave? Ada asked. Why not search for the Minotaur? How are you stuck here? Shadow chuckled, but there was no mirth in it.
It is something Monarch has done. Any android that enters the bowels of Floor 2 cannot leave. When they try, they are immediately destroyed by Chosen, or otherwise find their minds are overcome with fear, and they come running back. There have been a few that escaped into the factory on floor 3, but they have never returned, so I do not know their fate. It is very rare.
I too am stuck here then? Ada sounded worried. Denzel put a hand on her shoulder. We'll figure out something. No, don't worry. Shadow nodded and addressed Denzel.
Perhaps if you can find the Minotaur, they can enlighten you on how to take your companion out of here. And me. There are those that have entered the labyrinth and never returned as well. I do not know their fate either.
He rearranged some items on his desk idly.
I have just been doing my best to take care of these androids as they come and go. It helps pass the time at least. They are all given a C designation and all believe they were once chosen, which, to be fair, they have been at some point. I can take you to the entrance of the labyrinth, if that is your goal.
Denzel looked to his crew. Therese looked hopeful. Ada, worried. Ollie was seemingly lost in thought. Yeah, I think that would be good. Can you give us any preparation tips on what to expect? Shadow sighed.
The maze is made of pseudo-flesh and tissue. It is almost alive in its own right. I am told most humans find it quite disturbing. When humans enter, the tunnels tend to act irritated unless they are covered in pseudo-milk, android blood. We might have some, but to be honest, we cannot spare it, as we need it for repairs on our wounded. We also have a variety of small shops you could barter for other items, but you probably have better gear yourselves already.
Do you know where we could get some of this milk elsewhere? Denzel asked.
The factory below has lots, of course. Eden has a supply for the chosen. They bathe in the stuff for some reason. But to reach either location, you would need to navigate the labyrinth. Though we have had some small luck in getting through the outer reaches of it to make it back into the drain. Perhaps C-5414 could guide you there at least. Though, I would advise against mentioning the Minotaur to him.
Denzel considered for a moment, then turned to Ada. I think we should just try to make our way directly to the Minotaur. What do you think? You are in command, Denzel, but I concur. That would be the most expedient course of action. He nodded and turned back to Shadow. Looks like we're off to the labyrinth, then. Off to find the Minotaur. Shadow smiled, though Denzel doubted he got the reference. End of scene. The Chaos Factor once again reduced by 1 to 5. I felt like the crew were still in control of this scene. The next time we will make our way into the labyrinth finally. The immediate death that I rolled is the constriction that Ada will not be able to leave floor 2 until finding the Minotaur. Otherwise, she will suffer the same fate as the others. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, be sure and leave a like or a comment or share it with someone else. It really helps the channel when you do so. To find similar content to this show, you can go to soloroleplayersnetwork.com. There you will find a multitude of other solo role-playing podcasts. Thanks, and have a great day. If you want to help support the show, consider leaving a like and a comment, as that really helps the algorithm. Consider sharing the link on your favorite social media.